Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Audit and Risk Management Committee. Could we have the roll taken, please?
Certainly. Ms. Higa?
Here.
Representing the Director of Finance, Ms. Whitaker.
Present.
Representing the State Treasurer, Mr. Ruffino.
Present.
Representing the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Mr. Yamanaka.
Here.
Ms. Yamamoto.
Here. Thank you. Sorry I was late.
Oh, you're not late at all, Karen. Thank you.
Chairperson Paik, when you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. So the board will have a 10-minute public comment period at the end of each agenda item. Public comment after each item will be limited to the agenda item topic. There will be an additional opportunity for statements from the public for items not pertaining to a specific agenda item at the end of the open session meeting. Individuals wishing to speak at the board web conference should dial into the public comment line at 833-986-0555 and wait in the call-in queue. Each speaker is allowed a maximum of 3 minutes for his or her presentation. If there is not enough time for speakers to have 3 minutes, the timing will be at the discretion of the chair. Teachers Retirement Board meetings are live web stream and video archive, which are available to the public on CalSTRS.com. To protect the privacy of minors who wish to address the board, public commenters under the age of 18 only state their names and affiliated organization, but do not share any personal identifying information such as last name, age, or school. So with that business out of the way, are there any comments or revisions to the agenda? And if not, could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded, and notwithstanding any objections, that item is approved. And next we have the minutes from the November 6, 2020 meeting. Are there any comments or changes, revisions to the minutes? If I could have a motion in a second.
I'll motion, Lynn.
Thank you,
Second.
Jennifer. Thank you, Joy. So notwithstanding any comments or objections to the minutes, that has also been approved as well too. And this brings us to item 3, which is the progress report on the 2020 independent auditors on internal control over financial reporting and management letter. And this is a consent item. And so I ask for the pleasure of the committee to, if they have any comments or questions. I would like to point out that this item includes a significant deficiency of a reporting of fair value in the fair value hierarchy of certain private equity co-investments identified by our auditor Crow in November. But over the past 4 months, staff in financial management and the investment office have been working to evaluate and address these issues in a timely manner. So are there any questions or comments from the board or staff comments? Dr. Yetman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just very briefly, as you noted, this was a finding in the prior audit. And I've spent time talking with the auditors and talking with staff. And I just really wanted to pat staff on the back, quite frankly. The investment branch, especially Scott and April Wilcox and Mr. Chan Scott, did a really nice job working hard to get to the root of the issue and understand what the issue was, and worked with the auditors to put in place, I think, a really nice system, which is still ongoing, by the way, and still being built, but a really nice system that will prevent a similar event from happening in the future. So in some ways, this really was a blessing in the sense that it was, it was very small, but it allows us to fix something without any harm whatsoever, and put us in a position to put the organization in a much stronger position going forward as it enters into these new types of investment vehicles. So I really wanted to thank the investment branch and the people who worked on it for taking it very seriously and coming up with, I believe, is a solid solution. So thank you. That's all I've got. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Yetman. I appreciate your comments. And I saw Chris Ailman just joined us in video. Would you like to make a comment, Chris? No? Okay. And I do appreciate the quick work of the staff on this. And I noticed that in the item 2, components of it are due to be put in place by the end of this month, and then the next session on to the end of June. So it does seem like staff is making progress to address this issue. So I do appreciate that. Are there any comments or questions? Okay. Then let's move on to item number 4. And we have our team from Crow, Kevin Smith and Jen Aris, who are here to present the work plan for the upcoming audit. And Larry Jensen, I don't know if you wanted to introduce or had any additional comments.
Sure, I'll just do a brief introduction here. This is an opportunity for the Crow team, both Kevin Smith, who's the engagement partner, and Jen Aris, who's our managing director. Both of the auditors here today, are not new to the CalSTRS engagement. They're very familiar with CalSTRS, and annually we have an external financial statement auditor that audits our basic financial statements and as required by the law. And the role of the ARM committee is really, has responsibility for overseeing the work of this independent accounting firm that's selected, and in this case, Crow. And so here today, Kevin and Jen would like to present the client service plan, which outlines our approach for the audit this next year. So I'll just turn the time now over to Kevin and Jen.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Madam Chair. It's our pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. We look forward to presenting, hopefully in the not so distant future in person, but thankful for Zoom and being able to speak with you today. As Larry mentioned, we're going to present our client service plan, or our audit plan for fiscal year 21. At this point, we anticipate a vast majority of that work to be performed remote, but as I always try to remind audit committees, there's no caveat within the auditing standards that says, thou shalt do this, except for in a time of a global pandemic. We will continue to provide a very robust audit throughout this process. If someone could advance the slide, please. Today, we'll very quickly go over, introduce Jen and myself, as well as the entirety of the client service team at certain levels, discuss roles and responsibilities, and that's of both the ARM committee as part of your oversight of the financial reporting process, management, as well as Crow. We'll outline the scope and deliverables that we've been engaged to perform, our overall approach, as well as timeline, and then have any questions and discussions as well. I think what you'll see is a very consistent approach from previous years as well. Next slide, please. Larry introduced us very well, so Jenna and myself will be presenting this or making this presentation. Jen's been on the engagement for close to 5 years now. I've been on the engagement since inception, and we're really looking forward to leading the effort in the current year. Next slide, please. I won't go through all of the names. Many of them will be very familiar to you and consistent with previous presentations. As you can see, we believe that an audit of an entity as sophisticated and as complex as CalSTRS really requires a high-level team, if you will. And you'll see several people who are listed as partner, managing director, or senior manager included on the team. And in the vast majority of cases, those people are consistent with previous years as well. I would point out 2 names, Jen Aris and Rich Perilou, and congratulate them publicly. Since the last time you had seen this presentation, they will be effective at April 1st, partners within Crow. So congratulations to both of them. They will remain on this account as we view this to be a very valuable account, and their skill set is required. Next slide, please. The partners are all supported by a variety of senior managers, whether they're certified information systems or financial statement auditors. Again, these names are consistent, and each one of them have at least 4 years of consistent experience within CalSTRS. Next slide, please. We also, as a general reminder, engage Gabriel Roeder-Smith, or GRS, as an auditor specialist. They assist us in our review of the total pension liability, interact with us as a Crow team, as well as management, as well as your management specialist, Milliman. We also utilize Harvest Investments kind of as a Bloomberg terminal to supplement some of the stuff that we do internally as well. And we will once again meet all requirements as it relates to DVBE. With the next slide, I'm going to turn it over to Jen and talk about the overall audit approach.
Thanks, Kevin. As Kevin mentioned, an audit really requires the commitment and open communication of 3 parties, including you and your role as those charged with governance and oversight, management as those that are responsible for developing and maintaining a framework of controls, and compiling all of the financial statement data. And then finally, Crow, as the independent auditor, we are engaged to audit the information under both generally accepted audit standards as well as governmental standards. And if you could advance to the next slide, please. At the conclusion of the audit, we anticipate issuing audit opinions on the financial statements of the system, as well as the other pension information that's included in the required supplemental information, and an opinion on the internal control framework in place. We'll also meet with the committee next November to provide our communications to you and your role as those charged with governance as required under the audit standards. And should we have any significant observations through the performance of our audit, we'll provide a management letter comment for your review. If we could go to the next slide, please. Our audit approach is really continuous in nature. So during the planning phase, we perform numerous inquiries and corroborate and test controls, including the financially significant technology systems that are in place. We perform substantive testing in response to the key transaction cycles, key audit areas, and any identified risks. And then throughout our audit process, we actually reassess risk and try to maintain the highest quality of audit possible. If you could go to the next slide. Planning for the fiscal year 2021 audit actually started before we finished the fiscal year 2020 audit. So it's really a continuous process that begins on day 1 of your fiscal year. And we will be executing on our audit plan really between now and our final testing phase through September. After that, we work through final reporting and then again meet with you in November to discuss our final results. And if you could just go to the next slide. Really, this last slide is just a reminder that the audit is performed using a concept called materiality, which includes both qualitative and quantitative factors. Crow performs what we refer to as a risk-based audit, focused on significant risks of material misstatement. And that is really influenced by considerations such as the opportunity for fraud or error, the implementation of any material new accounting standards, influence or information that we obtain through inquiry of you in your role as those charged with governance. We pay particular attention to significant estimates, including the valuation of investments, significantly test the existence of investments, and then perform quite a bit of procedures over the development of the appropriateness of the actuarial assumptions that are used to calculate the total pension liability. We do just want to remind the committee that the new pension administration solution, Benefit Connect, is not yet within the scope of our audit procedures. And with that, if you could advance to the next slide, please, we would be happy to address any questions that you may have.
Lynn, I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Jen, I wanted to thank you and Kevin for the presentation. Congratulations again on making partner and to Rich as well too. And I do see that Joy Higa has a question.
Thank you. Thanks, Kevin and Jen. It's great to see you, and congratulations, Jen, also from our team. You referenced at the very end what's not in scope of the audit, Benefit Connect. And I know we've talked in the past about what is in scope of the audit is based on materiality. One of the other really significant projects that we're working on that the board's monitoring is the construction of our new building. So that the committee knows and the public knows, could you just comment on whether the audit for the upcoming fiscal year will address any issues related to the new building?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Kevin, please.
It's a great question. And again, I think I would refer back to the concept of materiality. The new construction will be subject to our test work. because we assess materiality as both quantitative and qualitative. To be as honest as I can be, it is more from a qualitative standpoint that we will test certain transactions as it relates to the building, because as no matter how significant it might be from a cash outflow, and it's very important to the organization, it pales in comparison to both the total pension liability as well as the investment portfolio. But recognizing the quantitative importance, it will be subject to our test work.
Very much. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you. And are there any other questions or comments from the committee? Dr. Yetman?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Hey, Jen, thank you for the presentation. Congratulations on the promotion to both of you. When will the new accounting system, pension solution, when will these sorts of things be in scope, do you think, for the audit?
So we would consider Benefit Connect to be financially significant when the information that is compiled within that system is utilized within the financial statements. And currently that transition has not yet happened. We have been in nearly constant communication with management to make sure that we are aware of when that does occur. Kevin, I don't know if you had anything to add to that response.
Perfect response.
Great, thank you. Anything else, Dr. Yetman? Okay. Thank you again for the presentation and for all the hard work that you do. And I know that we always joke that, and here at our office too, that auditing just seems like it's a year-round proposition. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have item number 5, which is the 2020 Internal Audit Plan Final Progress Report. So Larry, would you like to introduce this item?
Yes, thank you. As you know, travel restrictions during the COVID-19 outbreak required us to really expand our remote working practices and become more nimble as we do our best to audit at the speed of business. And as approved by the ARM committee, we adjusted the 2020 audit plan at the July meeting to review new risks such as business continuity, and then shifted more employer audits to limited scope reviews that require less resources and less time working with the employers, yet remain focused on the accurate reporting of payroll information. And as expected, the pandemic also affected our internal resources, as many staff provided care for their family. And today, Mike Dutel and Roseanne Oyoung will share with us the results of the 2020 audit plan and give us a brief status also on the progress of our 21 plan to date. And so I'm going to turn the time over to Mike to discuss the employer audits.
Thank you, Larry. Next slide, please. I am pleased to report that the employer audit team exceeded its annual goal of 72 audits by completing a total of 74 audits, which includes 15 full scope audits and 59 limited scope audits. The employers audited employed approximately 37,000 members, which is about 8% of CalSTRS total membership. We began limited scope audits in 2018 by completing 15 audits that were focused on one-time payments. We ran into travel restrictions last year due to COVID, so we increased the number of limited scope audits and completed 59 audits that focused mainly on special compensation. We used our annual risk assessment to select employers to be audited. For instance, we selected employers that were assessed as high risk in the special compensation risk factors and low in all the other risk factors. So although the employer may have been assessed as low risk overall, the employer had a good chance to be selected for a special compensation limited scope audit. Attachment 1 on item 5, pages 1 through 4, contains a list of each employer that was audited, the findings for each employer, and the number of sample members that were impacted by each finding. Next slide, please. This slide shows the number of employers with common audit findings over the last 3 years. Last year in 2020, 74 audits had a total of 160 findings. The majority of findings were misreported earnings, such as extra duty earnings reported as special compensation, which were found in 77% of our audits. This was expected as 52 of the 59 limited scope audits focused on special compensation. 11 audits had no findings, which is about 15% of the employers audited. Next slide, please. I'd like to recognize and give a shout out for a job well done to the 11 employers listed on this slide that did not have any audit findings. Although these employers assessed as high risk in certain areas, each of these employers properly reported payroll information that was audited. Next slide, please. Out of the 74 completed audits, 56 had at least one systemic finding, which was 76% of the employers audited. These employers had a total of 104 systemic findings. As of December 31st, 45 of the 56 employers with systemic findings identified 5,255 additional members affected by the findings. Now, what makes this number so impressive is that for these 45 employers, we sampled only 343 members. The cause of a systemic finding is normally due to how a payment is coded in the employer's payroll system. Therefore, the impact of the finding is not just limited to the sample members. Instead, the systemic finding will apply to all members that receive the miscoded payment. A common systemic finding we found is when the employer incorrectly coded extra duty earnings as special compensation, when the earnings should have been coded as a part-time assignment. Attachment 1 on item 5, pages 7 through 9, lists the employers with systemic findings, the number of sample members, the total additional members impacted by the finding, and the systemic finding types for each employer. Next slide, please. As for the resolution status for employer audit findings during the year, 174 findings were resolved and 130 findings were in progress as of December 31st, which includes 27 findings from the prior year. Now, for a brief update on this year's plan, our goal is to complete 106 audits. We continued our focus on limited scope audits and plan to complete 86 limited scope audits focused on either special compensation, post-retirement earnings, or unused sick leave. Plus, we plan to complete 20 full scope audits. To date, we completed 6 full scope audits plus 19 limited scope audits for a total of 25 audits. We currently have 99 audits in progress, which includes 85 limited scope audits and 14 full scope audits. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Are there any questions from the committee members? Don't see any in the queue, but I was curious, Mike, if you and your team in doing these remote limited audits, if you had any lessons learned, or was it easy or difficult to work with the employers? Because I'm assuming that a lot of them were teleworking as well too.
Yes. Well, we started the limited scope audits, which were done remotely back in 2018. So it was so luckily for us, we're used to that process, but of course the school districts weren't. So we did run into problems scheduling audits and actually getting information from the districts at some points. But we were really lenient with the districts, and we allowed them to dictate who we audited and how fast we audited. Actually, we had some full scope audits in process, and those are the ones that are outstanding and actually been completed. A lot of those districts say that, call us at the end of the summer or in fall time, which is past now, and we did. And they were able to help, some didn't, so we canceled those or postponed them. But a few did move forward with them, but it is a lot slower because our samples are a lot greater because we're looking at all different areas of compensation, unused sick leave, post-retirement earnings, and retired members. So those take a lot longer to do. That's why we shifted gears to mainly do limited scope audits, which is a lot easier because our sample selection is a lot lower and the testing is a lot simpler too, or not as expansive. But it's mainly the districts that we have to work for. Our staff is was already used to doing it. We just had to work with the districts and make sure that they are able to get the information to us.
Great, thank you.
I think the biggest transition was actually for our internal audit team, trying to work with everybody remotely. They had never done that before. Our employer audits, of course, have, and I don't know that it's really any easier, but it does take less resources, for us, because we're focusing in on, a specific set of transactions rather than a broader set than the full scope audits. And so it takes less resources per audit, but we're doing more of the limited scope audits.
Thank you. Well, and it was impressive too that your team was able to complete additional audits too over and above the original projections. And I know it was difficult here, so congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you. We have a great team of auditors.
Yep.
Thank you. Dr. Yetman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mike, well done. And thanks for your hard work. I know it hasn't been easy transitioning this year, but thank you. You and your team done a really nice job. And I think it's important for the board to know that although we're not knee deep in what we refer to as full scope audits, simply because of the pandemic, those will resume over time. But the attitude for resumption, as Larry has said, I don't know if he said it today, but we've talked many times. It's really, we're going to be really careful how those are reintroduced, and we're going to follow the school district's lead. We're not going to cram it down on them. They have a lot of other things they're worried about, right? And so we're really going to sort of follow their lead when we resume those audits. However, it's important for the board to know that that does not mean we have stopped auditing the school districts. And in fact, we've seen really excellent results from these more directed audits, where the sample is chosen not necessarily at random, but is chosen based on certain analytics that the organization conducts. And so you're going to get higher finding rates just simply because, we're opening the cookie jar where we expect to see cookies rather than just doing a random sample. So higher rates of findings is not necessarily cause for alarm at all. It just simply means that the organization is doing a far better job through the use of analytics, and is being very efficient in identifying those school districts that probably need a little help in properly classifying some of their items. So Mike, again, thank you to your team.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And I'd just like to remind the committee that we remain focused also with those limited scope audits. Primarily, the impact of that is our active employees. And so the idea is really trying to correct any reporting errors before our members retire, and that way they can rely on the estimates that they receive from CalSTRS. The likelihood of an adjustment after retirement is significantly reduced, and we've really focused on doing that. So when you saw that large number of impacted members, the largest majority of that, probably 95% of that or more, is related to active members. So we're just really focused on trying to get it right before the member retires.
Thank you.
So Roseanne, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say we appreciate those efforts because it's always much more difficult after retirement to go back and fix something.
Exactly. Roseanne is here with us today, and she's our manager over the internal audit area, and she'd like to share some of the things that we've done with regards to our 2020 plan internally as well.
Thank you, Larry. Good afternoon, members of the ARM committee. Oh, slides, please. Thank you. Thank you. I'm pleased to report the internal audit results for the 2020 audit plan. Internal audits started the year working on audits on the approved 2020 audit plan. As the year progressed and COVID impacted all of us, the risk landscape changed. We were agile, reassessed the risk, and obtained ARM approval to defer some audits and add audits in areas of higher risk. Across the unprecedented year, although we experienced vacancies and pandemic-related leaves of absences, reducing the team to 50% for almost half the year, internal audits was able to complete 9 audits and facilitate 3 contracted audits. I'd like to acknowledge the internal audit team for their resilience. The contracted audits included the financial statement audit performed by Crow, the information security assessment completed by Clifton Larson Allen, and the fixed income audit done by KPMG. We also have 4 contracted audits from the 2020 audit plan currently in progress. That includes an audit of application controls in the Business Direct system and an audit of cash management, both performed by Grant Thornton, and 2 investment audits, Global Equity and Innovative Strategies, both performed by Macias, Ginny, and O'Connell. For a list of audits completed this year, please see agenda item 5, page 6. The slide here demonstrates the strategic plan coverage provided by the 2020 audits that were completed and are in progress. As you can see, we have audits that correlate to each of the strategic plan goals. Next, I'd like to highlight some results from a couple of our completed audits this reporting period. For the business continuity audit, facilities management maintains an incident management plan, which provided sufficient detail for our leadership to promptly execute a pandemic response. The plan was also updated with lessons learned from the pandemic, and communications and decisions were documented. For the compliance audit of the contract between CalSTRS and Pension Benefit Information, LLC, we identified 10 key contract provisions that the vendor, Pension Benefit Information, LLC, should be fully complying with as outlined in attachment 2 on pages 2 through 5. Management has initiated work with the vendor to ensure consistent compliance to the contract terms. The full summaries are in attachment 2, pages 1 through 6. Next slide, please. During this reporting period, internal audits validated the implementation of management actions to resolve findings. As of January 2021, management resolved 23 of 60 outstanding findings, or 38%, as seen on agenda item 5, page 6. This slide shows within the last year that management consistently resolved on average 1/3 of the findings each reporting period. In addition, management timely addressed findings to maintain a low number of findings aging over 1 year old. We included the orange dotted line to more accurately show the trend because we have one audit that is an outlier with 14 findings. These findings can be found on attachment 2, pages 10 and 11, and the findings are anticipated to be resolved by June 2021. Next slide, please. This slide shows findings of significant rating across the last year. In 2019, we issued audit reports with critical, high, and medium rated findings that are reflected in the July peaks. Internal audits are focusing on higher rated, higher level risks. Another point to note is the general downward path of all the lines across the year, showing that management is addressing and focusing on resolving the findings. For the critical rated findings, management directed resources to resolve them. With the exception of the 14 that are anticipated to be resolved in June, all but one critical finding has been taken care of. This is a substantial accomplishment. Next slide, please. This slide shows findings by category. Please notice that these categories correlate with the enterprise risks that the board viewed earlier today. Many of the findings are in the high-risk areas of pension administration and information technology and security. This demonstrates the value of internal audits to addressing our organization's highest risks. In closing, we will wrap up the audits from the 2020 audit plan and shift our focus to audits of data privacy, workforce and succession planning, technology procurement services, and refunds. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Roseanne, thank you very much for your report. Are there any questions or comments from the committee? Yetman?
Thanks again, Madam Chair. Roseanne, my hat's off to you. So unlike Mike had a little bit of head start, right, with the school districts, because there was certainly some internal talent on how to conduct these desk audits, right, via remote. You didn't have that at all. You just walked in and everything is now all of a sudden remote to a system of audits that was never done remotely before, ever. And so that was a big lift. So my hat's off to you and your team. Thank you for your hard work. I did want to ask you one question with respect to these audits and the findings. Would you describe for the board, please, just very briefly, your impression of management's general tenor with in how they respond and how they receive the audit findings when you submit your reports? How does management, in your opinion, generally respond? Thank you.
Thank you for acknowledging that heavy lift, Dr. Yetman. I would say that we work in close partnership with management, and they are receptive to our observations and our findings. And I'm really pleased to say that we communicate consistently throughout the audit so that there are no surprises, and we do work together well with them, and they are receptive. And as you can see by the rate at which they are addressing the findings, they also value what we are sharing with them as well.
Thank you, Roseanne, Dr. Yetman. Joy, question?
Thank you, Lynn. Roseanne, thank you also. And I didn't get to thank Mike earlier for his presentation, but the ability for the two of you to continue to lead your teams through such a challenging time period, both for your teams as well as for those that you're auditing, is to be commended. So thank you. One of the internal audits that you did was it was auditing the contract between CalSTRS and a vendor pension benefit information. And we don't need to go into detail, but I think I just wanted to confirm that part of the sort of corrective actions that come out of those findings are both actions to be undertaken to be taken by the vendor, but also actions taken by the CalSTRS staff that manages our contract with the vendor. So am I looking at that the right way?
That is correct. Yes, and the contractor has the responsibility, the primary responsibility is, they are who we are contracted with to perform those services. And our management will be working alongside with them to ensure that compliance.
Okay, good. Because I think it's important to identify findings with a vendor or a contractor, but if we then also identify opportunities to improve our oversight internally, those are good opportunities to pursue as well. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Joy, and I definitely agree with your comments there. And Roseanne, congratulations again to you and your team. The heavy lift and just really difficult circumstances, and done a great job. And with regards to the contract that Joy was referencing too, I do like the way that you presented it, where you've broken out the findings and there's a clear response, how staff is addressing that with the vendor. So that was very helpful. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this item? No. Well, thank you.
Oops.
So that brings us to item 6. Oh, I'm sorry, Karen.
I didn't want to take up too much time, but I just wanted to acknowledge Roseanne and Mike for being so responsive to my pre-meeting questions that I had. But can you talk a little bit about, I'm still not sure about on page 8 and 9 of attachment 2, when you talk about the TCG, and I was kind of not sure of what's going to happen next. So what happens after these findings are done and you say it's in progress, and then how does it report out back to the committee?
Thank you for your question, Ms. Yamamoto. It will then be next reported when it's resolved. It will be reported in a similar agenda item, and it will be noted as those findings will be resolved.
Okay.
And we
then
will
if they're still outstanding, then they'll be shown that information as well then. Okay.
Correct.
That's correct. Ms. Yamamoto, on attachment 2, page 17, there's also a little more detail about those particular set of findings that you mentioned there. It outlines kind of, management is working actively, but also our legal office is working together with management to resolve some of those contract issues. And so they're actively working on it. It's just taking longer than originally anticipated. And so when they do resolve that, we will report the resolution to the committee. And then after we report the resolution, it'll drop off of the report, but we will keep it on there until the matter is fully resolved.
Okay. And then I'm always, I guess, confused when there are acronyms there. I want it to stand for something, but Roseanne said that it doesn't stand for anything. So I just wanted some clarification on that, but she was able to do that for me. So thank you, Roseanne.
Right. It's not like
That's-
IBM.
Absolutely, anytime.
Mhm.
Thank you, Karen. Our next item is item number 6, which is the 2020 Enterprise Compliance Services Plan Final Progress Update. And it is hard to believe that the compliance plan program was started 5 years ago, and a lot of work has been accomplished since then. So wanted to bring forward Larry Jensen and Cheryl Dietz to give us that presentation.
Okay, great. Can I go to the next slide, Jonathan? Thank you. So I just wanted to start with a brief overview of our compliance journey. So like any journey, similar to a road trip, if you have a destination in mind, then it's critical to plan that preferred route, the sites you want to see, the supplies and stops that you may need. So building our compliance program is similar to this. We have the resources, let's say our leading practices, that allow us to plan, design, structure, and execute our program to fit CalSTRS culture and strategic goals. So we built the plan, we've mapped out our agreed upon approach, and we're en route to our destination, a robust and mature program. Next slide. So to reach our destination of completing our compliance plan required involvement from most, if not all, branches within CalSTRS. The progress we made in making these accomplishments involved organizational-wide collaboration, communication, coordination, and commitment. Next slide. So although 2020 involved many challenges and uncertainties, I am pleased with how well we adapted and all that we achieved. So today I'm just going to highlight a few of our key accomplishments. Next slide. Okay, so I'm going to begin with CalSTRS Code of Ethics and Business Conduct. In alignment with leading practices, we identified opportunities to enhance and update our existing code. Next slide. The code is a key resource that provides us with guidance on legal obligations and our ethical expectations. So the code is also a resource to assist us with decision-making. Next slide. Some of the changes we're proposing to include in our revised code is ensuring the tone is consistent with our culture. We're going to add some key terms, decision trees, and learning aids. And then we're also going to include more color and graphics. To give you a sense of the direction that we're going to be taking, my next 2 slides are examples of other organizational codes that incorporate these type of changes. So next slide, please. All right, so this slide includes graphics and breaks up the text with color and icons. We're working with communications to assist us in the layout and design of our code to ensure we align with CalSTRS brand. Our goal is to engage the reader and emphasize the importance of maintaining a high standard of ethical conduct and compliance in our daily work. Next slide. All right, so this is an example of learning aids and decision trees that we're going to add as a resource to our existing code. We've completed the code, the revised code, but it's out with our compliance partners to provide us some feedback. And our next step is to seek input from General Counsel, obtain approval from our CEO, and then work with communications on publishing and promoting it throughout the organization. Our next slide, please. So another area of focus in 2020 was maturing our compliance risk assessment to leverage and integrate with enterprise risk management and audits. Next slide. So we built the tools to support this process. We updated our compliance risk profile and we mapped compliance risk to our enterprise risk. Next slide. So integrating our risk assessment fosters collaboration. It creates clarity and consistency over risk management. It also allows us to optimize and harmonize our risk activities. And lastly, it provides that deep understanding over our risk landscape and mitigation efforts. Next slide. The compliance team also worked diligently with the organization to develop and execute a policy management process that aligns with leading practices. Now, this process does not apply to the board or investment policies because they have a separate, well-established process in place already. Next slide. So ECS collaborated with policy owners to ensure that all policies were in a standardized format, that we ensured that new or revised policies were submitted through that workflow process, and then we agreed upon an annual policy review schedule. Next slide. ECS maintains a central repository for the organization policies and standards that does include investment and board policies, so it's a one-stop shop. We also promote new and updated policies through a few different avenues. We work with policy owners to announce any new or updated policies through CalSTRS intranet, which is central. And then we also developed a new SharePoint site in 2020 that has its own separate policy page where we highlight any new and updated policies. Next slide. So 2020 was the first year that the organization reviewed all of its policies to ensure they remained relevant and current. So as I demonstrated earlier, the policy review process goes through layers of review. So since the creation of this slide, policies continue to move through that process. And as of today, we have 93 policies that have been reviewed or updated. 22 policies are in legal review. 6 policies were approved by General Counsel to be decommissioned, and 25 policies are still under review by the business area. Next slide. Lastly, to align with leading practices, we implemented an anonymous reporting hotline that is managed by a third-party vendor, Navex Global. Next slide. The implementation process required considerable effort, coordination, and support across the organization. So as illustrated on this slide, we obtained input on several decision points related to the hotline reporting and case management process. We also promoted the launch through multiple communication channels. Next slide. So now that we have the hotline in place for a year, we are identifying the opportunities to improve the reporting and case management process. And we're also working with General Counsel, Human Resources, and the Compensation Review Unit to understand the reports we receive so we can determine whether we need to clarify policies, develop controls, provide additional training, or strengthen communications. Next slide. So to date, we've received 21 reports. This slide is illustrating who is reporting and how. So as you can see, reporters identify themselves as either members, employees, former employees, or other. And then about half opted to remain anonymous, and then most reports were made through the web. Next slide. So this slide demonstrates the categories of reports that we received. So as a reminder, the new hotline replaced and expanded on previous reporting systems into one comprehensive and confidential tool. So one of those previous reporting systems was the pension abuse hotline. Those reporting stats were tracked on a fiscal year basis. Therefore, when we launched the hotline for external users, we did this by fiscal year so that we can allow for consistent trending. In fiscal year 1920, pension abuse reports totaled 20, and now we're 8 months into this fiscal year, and we're at 8 pension abuse reports. So this indicates we are trending slightly lower than last year. For the other reporting categories, and as I previously mentioned, we are working with applicable stakeholders to understand underlying causes for those reports. And as a reminder, all reports do not necessarily equate to violations. So that's again why it's important for us to understand if there are opportunities to increase our communication on and education on certain topics. Oh, next slide. In early 2020, CalSTRS conducted an all-employee survey to gain insight as to what we were doing well and how we can improve as an organization. And included in that survey were a few questions surrounding ethics and compliance concerns, reporting ethics and compliance concerns. The all-employee survey closed just around the time we launched the new hotline. And then, of course, the pandemic occurred and we had to adjust to our new working environment. So once my team was settled, we focused on, a lot of our efforts to promote the hotline by participating in various branch and division staff meetings. Next, oh, not same slide, sorry. So we just recently collaborated with CalSTRS survey team and they to conduct a pulse survey, which is just a quick survey on a few questions. And we had them do that survey based on the similar questions that were in the all-employee survey. And as you can see on this slide, I'm happy to report that there was a notable increase organizational-wide on both of those questions. And that is, in the event I have an ethical or compliance concern, I would report it, and I believe CalSTRS would take the right action. So we're committed to sustaining our high ethical and compliant culture, and we're going to continue to promote the availability of our hotline. Next slide. So while 2020 was a challenging year, I am pleased with all that we accomplished. It was my small team of 2 and the support of various branches across the organization that allowed ECS to successfully coordinate and execute on these significant compliance initiatives. And with that said, I want to take a moment to introduce and acknowledge the team who supported these initiatives. So I'm going to start with Leonardo Rufino. Hopefully he'll jump on. I want you to place a face to the name.
Hello.
Oh, there he is. Thank you. So he assisted in our effort as a compliance analyst. And then I'm really happy to say that in 2020, he was promoted to our compliance manager. Thank you, Leo. And then Elisa Franco also assisted us as a compliance analyst. And then in 2020 as well, she was promoted to a specialist position in the later half of the year. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it here today because she had planned vacation. So lastly, I want to introduce and welcome our newest compliance analyst, Megan Hatfield. I think she'll jump on. Do you see her? Okay, and Angel Zhang. Both Megan and Angel joined us at the last part of 2020. And I have to say they are already an invaluable part of this team. So now that we have a full team, we are focused with our 2021 plan initiatives, such as, we have a lot on that plan, but we're going to improve our monitoring efforts, we're going to increase our training, compliance training, and we're going to expand our role into third-party risk management. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Cheryl, thank you so much for the report, and congratulations to you and your team. You've accomplished so much over the past year, and it's been very impressive, especially with all the teleworking and everything that entailed. And so glad that you have a full team now, and looking forward to seeing everything that you can do next year as well too. Are there any questions or comments from the committee? I see Joy has her hand up.
You, Lynn. No questions, just a thank you. So thank you and welcome to Leo and Megan and Angel, and thank you to you, Cheryl. There have been there's so much work that's taken place and I think pulled together in a really nice way to have sort of a refined concept of an umbrella compliance program for the organization. Not redoing things that didn't need to be redone, but finding ways to make sure that we identify the top risks and have good programs, communications, and training in place to prevent and detect and correct what we find. So no questions, but just a thank you, and I look forward to continuing to get updates from the committee as the program continues to evolve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. And Cheryl, I did have one quick question for you. Your first slide showed the progression of the program since it was founded in 2016. And then for 2021, you had the maturity analysis on there. And can you explain that a little bit about what we can look forward to with that?
So just so you know, because I was showing this to my husband, he's like, are you done at 2021? I'm like, no, it's 2021 plus, it continues. So we start with, we have a lot more work to do, and I want to create some of the DOJ updated guidance talks about iterative compliance risk assessments. So we're maturing the risk assessment process, and we want to become more iterative, not just one time a year, and then also really being transparent and really be able to find those areas of compliance requirements, and everyone's aware of those. It's not just, it's really making sure it's ingrained in our culture. And I know that we have it, not that we're siloed, but I just want it to be very transparent and visible, and there's no question where it goes. Also, I think that as we get more guidance, as we mature, you always want to mature your program. You want to find new ideas because one event can change it, right? So we want to maintain that culture. So we have to continually look for opportunities to enhance that. And then on top of that is our monitoring efforts. We have pieces all over the organization, but we wanted to pull it all together so that everyone's really well aware of, oh, financial services does this, and oh, investment compliance does this, right? So we're not duplicating. We're really just streamlining the process, and everyone's aware of where it's happening.
That's great. I mean, it sounds like there'll be a lot on your plate next year, but looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Any additional questions, comments? Dr. Yetman?
Carol, you've come a long way in a year. Thank you for a really great year in building out the infrastructure of a solid compliance program. I know it's been a lot of work, and as you pointed out, most of the work was done by a very small number of people. It looks like you've hired well. Welcome, everybody. to what I believe is one of the better compliance programs you'll find in any organization anywhere. You've got good leadership. So, and then I also want to give a shout out to Larry, who really, I think is and still is very helpful to Cheryl. Larry already had a full-time job as Director of Audit Services, but he found time to help Cheryl out, and I think that's really important to acknowledge that. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Yetman, and thank you again, Larry, as well too, for all the work that you've done over the past with the compliance team.
You betcha.
Thank you.
Seeing no other questions, we'll move on to item 7, which is the committee work plan for next fiscal year. And Larry, would you like to walk us through that?
Sure. This is our proposed work plan for fiscal year 21-22. And the ARM committee, as you know, plays a really important role of oversight over the organization's governance, risk management, and internal control practices. And this draft committee work plan, which is included as attachment 1, is very similar to this year's approach. Actually, we're proposing to have 3 meetings again next year. Of course, November is our usually our heavy lift, where we have our independent auditors present their opinion with regards to the financial statement, and also the new compliance plan and audit plan are presented at the November meeting. And so this work that's outlined on here is basically those things that are required to come before an audit committee, and also assist with oversight of development of our risk management program and risk management efforts. And we also include at the July meeting a committee education component. In the past, we've focused on accounting standards, financial statement information, as well as risk and compliance and governance activities. And so we will again include that this next year. Those are always very interesting. And so at this point, we're proposing this and seeking any input from the committee if you'd like. These proposed plans are scheduled to go to the full board. It's either the May or the June meeting that they will do that at. Our next meeting isn't until July, so while it seems a little bit early, it's really not for us. And so with that, it's designed to really give the committee appropriate oversight roles. And you'll notice at the March meeting, we also have our quality assurance program, which is an external review that's being performed as we're speaking, actually. And it's kind of like, who audits the auditor? In other words, we have the Institute of Internal Auditors who promulgates our standards, actually provide services that they will assess the degree of our compliance with the standards, and they offer opportunities to maybe even strengthen our department, and so we'll be presenting the results of that to the committee as well. And so with that, if the committee has any comments or input that they'd like me to include on the plan, please let me know, and we have until it's presented to the board to make any modifications.
Thank you. Karen?
Oh, hi, thank you. Thank you, Larry, for the overview on the work plan. One of the things that I'm always curious about is just learning more if there are any conferences or any webinars that I can participate in or understand, or just to learn more information. I've been through Diligent, I found out that there's an organization called CAQ, Center for Audit Quality. And so I've been watching some of those interviews and things like that. So if you have any suggestions on further education for us as audit committee members, that would be nice and helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that, and that's always that's a very good organization. I agree, and so you know, what I'll do is I'll look for some of those opportunities throughout the year and you know, inform the committee of that. And if they'd like to participate, that would be great.
That'd be good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Karen. That's a great suggestion. Thank you, Larry. Any other comments or questions on the work plan? I actually had one, and it's regarding the November meeting, which is always a full meeting since we have our financial statements and auditor reports. And there's an information item, the internal audit risk plan assessment, and then directly followed by the action item about the 2022 internal audit plan. And so I was curious if it would be possible to combine those two and have the information item as a component of the action item, or if there's a reason why they should be kept separate. Just curious about that.
You know, actually, I think that that's a great suggestion. I don't know that there's a reason why they need to be separate. One generally does feed right into the other. Our standards require that we do produce a risk-based internal audit plan that's approved by the committee. And so whether it's, you know, one item or two separate ones, certainly we can put that together and see if we can make it a little more streamlined for the committee. And I think one of the important aspects of that is that, you know, some of our stakeholders have had interest in what is the risk criteria that we use when we're looking at our school districts and we're trying to determine which ones that we will be auditing. But we can still include that and have a single item. So we will put that on the plan as one item. I'll make that modification to the plan. I think that's a good suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Any other questions or comments on this item? Then that brings us to our education topic, and we're very pleased to welcome Ms. Yvette Khanna from Grant Thornton to talk to us today about enterprise compliance risk. And I'll turn it over to you, Larry, to introduce this discussion.
Sure, just briefly, you know, unlike audit services that follows, you know, a set of auditing standards, there really is nothing comparable like that for compliance programs. And there are some regulations and regulatory bodies that provide guidance, if you will, but it's, you know, there's nothing really that's set that says, here's how you implement a compliance program at an organization, because it varies from one organization to the other. And as you heard Cheryl mention today, much of what we do is based on the culture of the organization. And so here today with us is Yvette Khanna, who is with Grant Thornton. And Grant Thornton has been very instrumental in helping the compliance program development and implementation and providing advice to Cheryl and I, and helping us with many of the aspects of the program. And so we really do appreciate their help. And Ms. Khanna will be discussing kind of the pathway and the processes that are used for basic implementation, as well as how to mature a program with best practices. And right now with Grant Thornton, she serves in their risk advisory services, has over 25 years of experience working with risk and compliance and governance issues, and very familiar and has experience in developing and implementing programs. Prior to joining Grant Thornton, she was the chief risk officer for one of the big blue insurance companies, and managing director and risk practice leader at Alvarez and Marsal, and also the managing director for global risk management. And her bio is included as part of the agenda item here, but also in 2013, Business Insurance Magazine named Yvette as one of the global women to watch in risk management. And so we're glad to have her with us today. And with that, I'm going to turn the time over to Yvette Khanna.
Thanks, Larry. I appreciate the introduction, and nice to spend the afternoon with everyone. Thank you for being so gracious with your time. I know I have 60 minutes to spend with you, and you have presented me with an interesting challenge, which is to have an educational conversation about compliance a year into a pandemic, which in and of itself has created a host of questions activity and challenges for essentially what compliance is all about. So with that, let's go into the next slide, set the stage for our discussion, and then move into some of today's topics. So the agenda follows a path as follows. We're going to start by talking a little bit about COVID-19 and some very interesting impacts that it has brought forward, some which you might find surprising and not necessarily bad. Then we're going to pivot and go into a deeper discussion around high functioning compliance programs. We'll talk a little bit about those Department of Justice guidelines. Then we'll move into what does good look like and how are organizations responding and innovating along the pathway. And certainly last but not least, we're going to speak about CalSTRS and how they have specifically advanced the entirety of the ECS program and frankly, what lies ahead as we look to 2021. I'm trying to do this within 45 minutes. We'll allow some time at the end for Q&A, and I'll try to keep an eye on the clock while we're also moving through these slides. So Larry, keep me honest. I have you on the screen. Give me a signal when we're maybe 5 minutes out, and we'll go from there. Next slide, please. So as promised, I want to open up with a discussion around COVID and some of the key trends that we're seeing during this very interesting period of the last 12 months. So unquestionably, we're all familiar with the shifting risk landscape. I think we've heard enough about work from home, various challenges that have happened even around workforce strategies, but there's a little bit more to the story that I want to highlight as we move into today's educational session around compliance. And what I want to draw your attention to is what has evolved, and in particular, what businesses have and are doing, especially pension funds, as we think about some of these levels of innovation and shifts and levels of resiliency. Two things. One is acceleration of technology. McKinsey has referred to this period of time as the Great Reset. I could not agree more, but for reasons that might be surprising. Apart and aside from workforce strategies, we are seeing the Great Reset in how organizations do business and how they engage with their customers. And it's being rapidly reinvented, and technology is driving a lot of the innovation and frankly, acceleration that we're seeing across the entirety of actually all industries. So it's taking, if you will, the business environment along for that ride. Now, along the way, there are some challenges. Some of those challenges are risk and compliance challenges. We're going to cover those today, but some are opportunistic. I'll give you an example of opportunistic. I briefly mentioned engaging with your customers and your members. And so using technology to do that differently, accelerating and perhaps supporting client engagement and member satisfaction differently are some of the very positive trends that we're seeing through COVID. Engaging your employees differently. While there might be challenges with the pivot that happened last February, March, and April, we've now seen a rise to resiliency through that pivot, and we're seeing these business environments really seize it and reimagine how employees are going to re-engage. So with that, let's go a little bit deeper into the conversation. Next slide, please. I want to start with a really interesting challenge around regulation. And this is actually generated from a tool that CalSTRS has invested in as part of the 2020 activities that we supported. And this is a tool called Regalytics. It's an artificial intelligence tool, and it's used to basically track various types of regulations of all size, sorts, and shapes, and the number of alerts that are associated with those regulations. So an alert might be an indication that there is a new law, perhaps, that is being drafted on the Hill or in the California State Legislature. Unique regulator postings deal specifically with new laws and regulations that are coming on the books that perhaps did not exist before. Take a look at the numbers. This is 2020, and this is essentially a representation of 12 months of activity. And you'll see 591 unique and new laws that were promulgated across various agencies, federal, state, territory, and self-regulating. What's interesting about this is it's all COVID related. So this is the proverbial fire hose, and compliance shops have been drinking out of it. In other words, figuring out what this means to your business. Is your risk profile shifting? What is the potential order of magnitude of that shift? And how should you be thinking about it proactively if you know it's coming, preparing for it appropriately through release, and then enacting and following it through in terms of policies and procedures once it is live. So some interesting takeaways here. One, a lot of evolution. Two, it's driven some enhanced layers of regulatory conversations. And that's where we're going to also get into some of the DOJ stuff, as well as things that are specific to your state. And last but not least, this is the great challenge of keeping up. The good news, the tools such as Regalytics are extremely helpful. And so the manual follow along, if you will, even through separate technology systems. For instance, a Westlaw system, a Thomson Reuters, a Wolters Kluwer, all terrific systems. But putting it together into an intelligent learning machine that helps alert an organization and apply it more timely has been a huge advancement during COVID. This tech is less than 3 years old. Next slide. One of the other things we've seen is just all around intelligence applied through innovation. So understanding what the pandemic means, for instance, to CalSTRS in and of itself has been a huge question, and you're not alone in that. So understanding what it means, not just in the compliance framework or compliance ecosystem, but through the entirety of your business model is extremely relevant. So we start to think about, well, can we predict where things are going, where risk is going, where the pandemic is going? Can we start to predict different scenarios of what might be happening in public health and how does that impact our employees and how we might want to think about opening or reopening an office? What about capital or assets under management, AUC or other metrics? How do we think about this in terms of what's happening to us during this period of time and how customer demand might be changing and impacting some of that, as well as external factors that you don't control, like interest rates? And last but not least, another thing that you don't control is the economy. None of us do. And on that note, paying attention to how that factors into some of the decisioning, while it may not seem directly tied to compliance, I would argue that it is, because some of the decisions that you're making are guided by the economy itself and the well-being of your business. So all of this has moved into innovation and intelligent platforms during COVID, and very clearly motivated and pushed by it. Things that we've also brought forward for your consideration and shared with your team to drive some of your thinking around maturity and performance in the compliance space. Next slide, please. So now let's get down into some tactical elements of the discussion that we're going to have today. How do you make sense of all of this? It's great that things are evolving. It's great that things are innovating. It's interesting that we are finding silver linings. But how do we actually apply this specifically to compliance and consider it in terms of CalSTRS? And with that, we'll look at some of the elements of your journey that might be particularly relevant as you look to the future. Next slide, please. So let's start with, what does good look like? A proverbial question. So there's some key considerations here that I want to draw your attention to. Let's start on the right-hand side of the slide and just talk about design. When we started working with you in designing, for instance, your Regalytics interface and the links to enterprise risk and compliance that we enacted, the very first thing that we thought about is who's going to use the information. Who at CalSTRS needs that information in perhaps a variety of different ways, and they can apply it in perhaps a variety of different ways. So the very first test in the compliance realm was the design. How well is it designed to achieve target objectives? And can we establish some metrics for that? And we'll get a little bit more into that later as we talk about how the Department of Justice wants you to think about some metrics. The second item is, how well are we sort of practicing the craft of compliance, and how well are we applying it? And again, these are metric-driven questions now. And these are new. These are new questions, and they are pushing, if you will, from a more aspirational outline around what good looks like to a tactical outline of how you functionally build, execute, and test your compliance framework, and then feed that back in through learning objectives and lessons learned so that you can continuously improve and evolve. And that is a jump forward for 2020 compared to 2019, compared to 2017, and frankly, during the term that we've been engaged with you. So this begs a new challenge, a new opportunity perhaps, around measuring results and demonstrating value. The other thing that's important here, and this ties to the Department of Justice and the guidelines that I'm referencing, the context of your business matters, perhaps more so now than ever. So when the most recent guidelines came out in June of 2020, many were surprised to see contextually that things like company size and industry and footprint and the regulatory landscape, if you will, the compliance mandates that you have were considered in a arguably thoughtful and constructive way by the Department of Justice. It was an evolution of their, if you will, application of what compliance needs to look like to achieve heightened maturity and heightened performance. And with that, let's go to the next slide and look just a little bit at maturity before we get into those guidelines and begin to consider them in terms of actionable insights. You may or may not have seen a maturity graph, so I felt compelled to share this. We always change this. This isn't canned. We actually think about this contextually for you, for CalSTRS. So as you look across the maturity landscape, let me lay it out for you in the two dimensions of the axes that you see here. Let's start on the bottom and go across horizontal. We call this level of maturity. Think of level of maturity the way you would even as a child. As we grow up, things are going to change. We're also going to become wiser. We might become stronger, and the end game is potentially successful, better, and maybe even peaceful, we would put in there. On the left, we look at performance and value. So as we do these things, what do we gain? What do we gain? So with maturity and compliance, we're looking specifically at a couple of key differences between an ad hoc, a 1 to your left, and a leadership, a 5 to your right. Let me bookend these comparisons quickly. Ad hoc deals with, I'm catching you on the way to the water cooler or on a Zoom meeting as a sidebar conversation nowadays, perhaps. And I'm saying, hey, where are you with this? Where are we with that? We're having a conversation, and knowledge management is happening in a non-process-based approach that is somewhat lucky. In other words, if I hadn't seen Larry or Cheryl or Leo on the way to the water cooler, or I hadn't caught the Chief Information Security Officer or anyone else for that matter, would I have known? So that's really the ad hoc dimension of maturity. Let's pull that all the way over to the right and contrast that with leadership. So leadership really, first of all, is hard to do. It's not impossible to do, but it is hard to do. It is the greatest standard of care by which you will achieve your compliance program. There's a couple of things here that need to happen to get there. The biggest thing is full integration with a predominant lack of silos. That latter sentence is actually the problem statement that most organizations struggle with in a compliance and frankly in a risk management program. And that's to put it all together in a synchronized view and to do it with the proverbial eye in the sky where information is integrated and exchanged and those silos are busted through. You're also measuring the value of what you're doing. So these metrics that I'm going to talk about in a moment and some of the areas that we're going to look at in a moment, think of those as all being measurable and maturing enough that you have the data, the insights, and the feedback loops to do that and to set your measurement levels. What is a measurement level that's acceptable? And what is a measurement level that may not be acceptable? And you've seen some of this before in your enterprise risk management measurement levels, of how you think about inherent and residual risk. Same principles apply here. The difference is we're thinking about an entire program and we're looking at it without looking at any specific risks. We're looking at functionality. CalSTRS sits about in the middle. And when we first started working with you, you weren't about in the middle, but you are now. And you're leaning to the right of that, on the uphill slope, if you will. A lot of what's happened in the past year has been a force accelerator for this program, undoubtedly. The staffing that you're doing and the resourcing that you're doing are playing into that alongside your strategy. So as you compare and contrast 2021 in the middle, you'll see that those are ticking some of the boxes that Cheryl also spoke to earlier. And as you push over to the right and you consider the 21 plan that Larry referenced earlier, it's beginning to tick through some of these items in the managed column. So that's how it begins to synchronize across your growth and trajectory curve. I will tell you, and I want to clarify this because I often get this question from boards, are we ever beyond leadership? Well, it's a great question, and I'm going to answer it in advance in the event that you're thinking of it. You're never done learning, really. You're never done leading, really. So when you get to 5, the hardest part, it might seem like, oh, getting to 5. I'm going to tell you the hardest part is staying there. That once you get there, staying there and making sure you can continuously monitor and mature in a perpetuity, if you will, is tough. We often see organizations go up, maybe get into 5, and then there can be a change in leadership, in approach and strategy, a pandemic, and you see the regression. So it is possible to come up. It is also possible to come down. So with that, let's go to the next slide. So let's talk a little bit about Department of Justice best practices and the outline that they've really given you as of the summer, which we are helping you actively apply and will continue to drive some of the maturity of. We have taken the guidelines and interpreted them differently using some attributes, talking about it in terms of some attribute descriptions, and listing some drivers for you. We organized it this way because we've also organized your program this way and in partnership with you. And so we wanted to think about what, if you will, the mandate is that you're looking at now relative to how you're managing the program. So with that in mind, let's talk about design. With design, we have 4 components listed at the top: risk assessment, training, reporting, investigation, and a really hot topic in COVID, third-party management. And a strong corollary to cyber and fraud in that one as well. The attributes talk about what you need to do as a board, as an organization, as a compliance shop to push up that maturity curve and to achieve what good looks like. So the attributes, and you can certainly refer back to them later, provide some guidance around that. Some interesting things have happened though with this year's version of the guidelines from DOJ. They use some words for the first time that they actually haven't used before. And there's 4 of them in particular that really stuck out because they were either new or way more frequent in what they were communicating along the lines of what I'm showing you. 1 is resourcing, 2 is time, 3 is data, and 4 is access. Things like how accessible the program is, how timely the program is, how good your data is, and what kind of resources are you using to drive it forward, all things that matter in design. And so as you consider these attribute drivers, the way to kind of put this together is as Larry and Cheryl continue to report out to you over time, they'll be talking about their plan, they'll be talking about these metrics, they'll be describing things like risk control self-assessment functions, how we do continuous monitoring now on some of these regulatory aspects, and it's essentially ticking these boxes for you. So that's the design. Now let's look a little bit at the next slide and go deeper into the program. Let's apply it. So we can design it and it can look great on paper, but we actually have to make it work. So making it work involves you, involves other in CalSTRS, and involves some incentives and some resources. A couple of things that DOJ is looking at is the overall commitment of the board, especially the board of directors, along with the executives, and setting this clear ethical tone that they reference several times in the guidelines. They're also looking for that commitment to become self-evident in the culture. And so when we start to bring it through training, when we start to bring it back through metrics, that starts to reflect, is the culture and that tone at the top really working? And is it indexed, if you will, by the performance of the program? And the performance of the program has a critical dependency. We're not yet replaced by robots. We're a people business. This is a people function. And why I might talk to you about innovation and using really interesting and effective AI tools to do some great things, the great things those tools do should be additive. They're freeing up your people to go focus and solve for some of the most critical and pressing compliance issues or risk issues that you have. So really setting it up in a resource way is part of your optimization. And so the tools become enablers, but they don't replace the people. And probably not anytime soon. Again, they're additive. So we're really looking at how you're funding and resourcing and enabling the compliance program. And that enablement includes good data, not just any tool or any data, good data, high quality data that can be accessed collaboratively by your teams. And that's been one of the big transformation silver linings in COVID, is this middle parallel, if you will, is something that organizations seem, in our experience and expertise, to have really seized as a moment and a time and an opportunity to really shine in terms of busting through those silos, bringing the information together, and utilizing the information way more efficiently to solve for compliance and risk concerns. And then last but not least, in the how you apply and work the program A Day in the Life of CalSTRS, is how you recognize people that are doing a great job with it. And that really comes down to the building of incentives and, in certain instances, sharing and learning from disciplinary measures. So recognition and rewarding employees, perhaps in a performance review, for demonstrating the type of culture, leadership, and compliance, if you will, performance that CalSTRS is seeking is critically important. I want to focus on this for just a moment since this is an educational session. We often talk about in program management, governance, risk, and compliance, if you will, the importance of design and the importance of resourcing. But I can't tell you how important the psychology is of getting this right, and why we might talk about things in a scientific, matured, engineered approach at some levels. At the end of the day, incentives and controls matter a lot. It also goes to the heart of why you have an audit function and the testing and review of controls and performance in that domain in the third line. But in the second line, when we talk about incentives, we really mean it. And what we find, and there's a lot of data on this, there's a lot of research on this, that this is actually one of the most important things that you can do, is to work with your HR department and build incentives into the reward system that you are sharing and bringing forward with your employees to the performance review cycle. It really brings home the idea that we are a culture where this is recognized and rewarded. And if you are a high-performing employee or part of a high-performing branch and part of, if you will, a high-performing culture, as they're rewarded for the greater good of the whole, they get the benefit of that in their actual annual recognition process. So I would encourage you to not lose sight of that as a key objective as the program continues to grow and evolve through 2021 and beyond. And with that, let's go to the next slide. So putting the program into practice has some feedback loops that are really important for what we call real-time monitoring. This is something that Cheryl and Larry have actually done this year. You heard them talk about the compliance hotline and NAVIX, and we just reviewed some data that came out of NAVIX. And you're seeing a greater adoption of that program. You're also seeing some data and some survey information that demonstrate that employees are accepting it and feeling more comfortable with it. That's really important in demonstrating the evolution and the resiliency of what you're doing. It's also giving you an opportunity to study your root causes. Understanding why something happened contextually is helpful. It's helpful in strategic planning. It's helpful in thinking about broader, if you will, functional deficits that might have concerned. But what really matters is your root cause analysis. Did we have a failure of a control? Did we have an instance of something that might have been more systemic and therefore more subtle for a period of time before it really became catastrophic? And how do we learn and get feedback from that to either design a new control, which a lot of organizations have done during COVID for reasons that you can probably imagine, such as working from home. But also, do we have the right controls? Do we have the right controls? And so doing the root cause analysis is important. Also demonstrating that you're remediating the problem before it gets to audit. That's the key part. Audit is going to set its audit plan. Larry will do this, and through his management and the execution of the audit plan, they will go and look at controls. That is not what the Department of Justice and a best practice will encourage you to do. Audit becomes a second set of eyes. The first set of eyes is in the compliance program in and of itself, and that it's looking at what is happening and occurring and learning, and then applying that learning. And there are a couple of areas in particular where that learning nowadays is critically important. We picked a few here: payment systems and vendor management, just because they've been so riddled with trouble during COVID. The fraud and payment systems, the vendor management, and in some cases, vendors going into crisis, suppliers going into crisis, financial resiliency has been a tremendous example of that, are all things that could impair your compliance program. And I want to share an example. We had a client, not dissimilar from you, who had a vendor, and it actually happened to be 7 vendors that were all supporting a critical business function. So they thought, we have duplication across what we need to do the job for our member. Well, these vendors were located in a certain state and in a certain area that became distressed during COVID. And when it became distressed, these vendors were not able to sustain the way that they should have for a myriad of reasons I won't go into. But let me say this, they all failed. All the vendors shut their door. They shut their door with 2 days notice to the client, and they shut the door all within 1 day of each other. So it ended up being an unexpected and unfortunate event. It actually created a compliance instance for our client. And in speaking to the chief risk officer, chief compliance officer, head of audit, head of TPRM, third-party risk management et al., they said, why didn't we see it coming? Why didn't we see it coming? And that is where the Department of Justice and best practices are trying to lead you, not just through the lessons learned from COVID, and you've had some as well, not like that, but you've had your own lessons, as we all have during COVID. This is an instance to say, where might we be more vulnerable? And why do we think we are more vulnerable there? And your risk management team and your information security team and other teams in CalSTRS will help answer those questions as they do currently. But challenging it and comparing and contrasting it with the losses or your NAVIX reports and so on and so forth is the connection point you're really looking for. And that becomes a much more fulsome examination of a problem and arguably leads you to better insights around how to engineer that problem out of your operating environment and then maintain that. And with that, let's go to the next slide. So the value of all of this is putting it together, which is what we just covered on the left, and we just went through those topics. And the continuous improvement cycle of that, again, can you go up to 5 and maintain on that maturity curve? And then what is the value? And the value starts to come through these metrics because we can show that we might be getting less calls through the hotline. We might have less or fewer compliance events in these critical risk areas like our payment systems or our third-party risk management or information security. And that we can then take that and assess the value differently tomorrow than perhaps we can today. All of that drives improved strategic decision-making for the board and for senior leadership, because you now are getting not just a risk-based audit, which was described earlier, you're getting risk-based strategic decision-making from compliance in the examples I just covered, from risk and other examples you've already seen, but there's a continuity there that can be harmonized across your business. And that harmonization is exactly why this past year, CalSTRS brought your compliance ECS function, if you will, closer and more aligned with your ERM function so that you could gain those efficiencies to drive those risk-based decisions forward and then up to the board. Next slide, please. In the event you haven't seen a 3-line of defense, I just want to share it briefly. And I want to talk about that ERM and compliance integration through integrated activity and workflow and show you what that looks like, including how it balances against the bottom-ups risk assessment that lifts compliance risk, if you will, up from the branch and takes it into Cheryl's team and then ties it to some of these metrics and feedback points. And then the second line where it's all being harmonized and then ultimately lifted up to the board. The board and audit committees then make decisions, provide feedback and guidance, and that then becomes a top-down risk assessment, which flows back into the business. If you haven't seen one of these before, I just wanted to share it. And I also wanted to share it by highlighting some points of integration that have happened this past year for CalSTRS, mainly around ERM and compliance, and then taking that all the way down to the first line. Next slide, please. I also want to show you some of the optimization work that you've done to really drive specifically your maturity forward. How you've been able to grab some of these tools, even in the midst of COVID and some trying times, move them into new workflows, align them with things like ERM that I just spoke with, and deploy them through your business. So this diagram shows you a few things. One, it shows you your people at work in the business. So the operations benefiting from some of the changes that have been happening, in particular in compliance. And then compliance in and of itself, and just a gross oversimplification of everything that has happened in 2021 around building up your capability for trend analysis, your monitoring and your brand new monitoring program, the testing that now is being set up, and the new reporting functions that you have. So all of this is tremendous progress improvement in just the last 12 months. And you did it during a global pandemic. Next slide, please. I want to show you how that autonomous tool is helping to enable your functionality on some of these points of integration. So allowing compliance to track and monitor all of its risk topics in a easier to track, easier to do process is not easy. And so there's a lot of easy there, none of it's easy. And so beginning to think about how to make sense of that in your environment and get your people to buy in all the way out to the first line is where some of those psychological incentives and rewards and processes also come in. But here's what it looks like when you do it. You're able to ingest a lot of information at one time, pretty dynamically. And then you're able to make sense of it pretty quickly. And then you're able to alert against it. So that if it is your legal team, your compliance team, could even be your audit team, third-party team, really all of it. If there's a compliance risk, and that compliance risk is being tracked at CalSTRS, and now they're aligned with your ERM risks, you can begin to look at how are rules, laws, or even emerging rules or laws happening. Pull them into your ecosystem, align them with your compliance risks, and try to make sense of them in a much, much quicker paradigm. You have a lot of regulators at CalSTRS. You're not alone in this. And so being able to monitor all of this and make sense of it quickly arguably gives you a competitive edge. It also allows you to maybe resource and approach the focus area of different trouble spots a little bit differently because you have some tools that help. Next slide, please. What we often show in businesses are, pyramids. Sometimes we show, the board at the top, and then we'll show it kind of going down the pyramid or down throughout an org chart. I actually like to show it a little differently. So you'll see here that the entirety of the risk governance framework is a continuous fishhook. And this fishhook really represents this sort of integrated approach that I've been describing to you that uses tools, that drives better decision-making, it makes you more resilient up against those DOJ standards, and then frankly drives the wisdom and actionable insights in the business. So as you think about where you're going, perhaps allow me to reframe it this way. And so I did show you a maturity chart. Picture kind of going up that maturity chart in this ecosystem. So this is the team. And the team is motivated by risk governance. And then you have ERM in here, compliance, the data and automation I've spoken about. But that data automation, what's different is it's not in InfoSec, right? It's not in TPRM. It's not just in compliance, and it's not just in ERM. It is available to all folks that are involved in the governance ecosystem. And by moving it through this ecosystem and then up to audit to inform your risk-based audits, all of this becomes much more efficient for any organization that pursues this course. Next slide, please. And so where have we been? It's been a journey. And so in 2018, Grant Thornton first engaged with CalSTRS to do a compliance assessment, really a readiness assessment of sorts. You've seen this diagram to the right before. And this really led to a more formative state of your compliance risk profile. So it was that first real jump beyond the launch of the program that said, what are we building towards? How are we going to get there? And what is the path to action? And then we went quickly past this. So next slide, please. We went to something that became much deeper, focusing on what do we mean by compliance risk? So the compliance risk taxonomy, just so you're aware, at CalSTRS represents the major buckets of risk in the compliance ecosystem. So we have here a list, and you'll see that we've been able to take enterprise compliance risk, break it open into where does all of this regulation and compliance obligations and Department of Justice guidelines, like where does that really live and breathe in CalSTRS? What are these areas that we're paying attention to? So not surprisingly, investments. But there are others, such as the entirety of your financial reporting, anti-bribery, of course you have information security, physical building safety, right? And as you think about your new building, and then some other items. And I grabbed third parties here because this has been so COVID hot. And what I mean by that is it's been challenged exceptionally during COVID. So I opened it up. So if you open up 10, show me what's there. So as you look at what's there, you see level 3, which is a deeper risk dive into the different types of third-party risk. So how could third parties create a compliance issue or event for CalSTRS? What are the things we want to be doing there, monitoring there, looking at metrics there, and feeding that back into compliance in partnership with information security and others to make sense of this ecosystem? So all of these here that are level 2 have layers of them. They also have regulators that attach into them that have all been mapped now. So that as you monitor each regulator, you can monitor their regulations, you can monitor changes in those regulations, you can match that back to the risk, you can evaluate it against your metrics and begin to make sense of it in terms of, is it working well? Next slide, please. So in 2020, there was more. So you took that taxonomy and began to activate it and track against it and develop underlying processes to enhance it. So we've gone on this journey, much of which Cheryl covered in the past year, which has again really driven your maturity forward. There are some things at the bottom though that I want to leave you almost as sight words or sight phrases. And these are things that become, if you will, why did we go on this journey? What have we gained from the journey? And these are your value statements. So when you talk about efficiency, repeatability, quality, sustainability, better insights and intelligence, and improved and enhanced capabilities to measure risk, especially compliance risk, which can be very, very opaque and difficult to measure. And so you are now on this journey. It's not completely and totally all final, but it is very far along in these specific areas in terms of driving to that level 4 maturity for 20 2021, the year you're in now. And with that, let's go to the next slide. So this is your plan, and we have been assisting through all of this. And what I wanted to do was put some of the Department of Justice topics that we covered earlier, design, and then the call to action, and then is it working in practice? And those were all color coded for you. And now they've now been matched to your plan. So what you're able to see here is that when you initiated and completed the plan that you've been following now for several years, and you did specifically your culture and governance activities, you're sort of ticking the boxes on the commitment by management and some of the incentives. And this applies all the way through. So you had third-party risk management on your plan. Department of Justice called out third-party risk management, and you can see that alignment in the purple box. They also called out, for instance, analysis and remediation of misconduct. And you can see that in the green dotted box sitting under your compliance monitoring and auditing. You can also see the program management over to the right, where you have the continuous improvement testing and review, also a DOJ requirement, which is also part of your plan. This should give you some confidence that you're on the right track, and that you're thinking about what you should be thinking about and moving through the work steps accordingly. Next slide, please. So in this slide, I actually want to invite Cheryl to join me. I told her I might do this, and to talk a little bit about 2021. And there are some really exciting activities happening here that are next generation compliance at CalSTRS. Let me tell you what I mean by that. When you start applying the insights from what you have now built, you are able to begin to be much more proactive instead of reactive in some of the areas that might be trouble spots for you. These laws and regulations, I'll say a quick recap. I showed you 16,000 new alerts during COVID alone that pertain to items of importance to CalSTRS. And then I showed you that there were 561 that were actually or became law. And a lot of those were driven by COVID. And then we said, well, what do we do with all that? You know, if you know it, it's one thing. What do we do with it? And then we said, well, we need to match all of that to our risks. Like, how do these new laws change our risk profile and compliance? How are we going to respond to them in policies and procedures? And that gets you to the insights and trends and the active tracking and monitoring. So Cheryl, I wanted to invite you in here just to talk a little bit about what is happening on the slide in your words, and then also how you envision it working out to the branches as we think about the insights and trends in compliance and getting the branches more involved through the liaison program and adopting, learning, and applying some of these insights and trends.
Thanks. So as a compliance director, as you showed that one slide just with the COVID related regulations, I mean, it's overwhelming, right? You think, how can I get my arms around this? And this tracking tool really supports me because can I learn all this? Can I do all this on my own? I can't, right? I can't do all of that. But by having that available to me, I can key in on certain areas, like you said, risks, right? And I can, it scrubs the data. So I'm not getting it 50 times in one day. I'm getting it once or twice, right, on certain areas. And so it really hones in and like helps me focus and doesn't get me distracted by data that really may not matter. Like just now I went into, if I want to learn something about specifically to OSHA, I'll go into that and it narrows it down. There's on this slide that I'm looking at, it has one right now. And then also by having it available, not just to myself, but to everyone in the organization, now we're all looking at the same thing. I can have the conversation. I can tap, investments and say, hey, did you see this? What are you guys doing about that? So it really opens up the conversation as well and doesn't put it, it's available to me and it's available to them. So we can have the conversation. It's not all on me only. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, it's tied to the compliance risks. So now I can use it as an input, identify the higher risks, keep our resources and focus on that. And then again, build a plan to address those. Does that answer
And
the
I
question?
think, yeah, and I think, what I would add too is we piloted this in investments and privacy, and they're part of the planning, or I think the thinking for 2021 is that more folks would be added to that list so that they could get these insights and trends for them, and through a collaborative conversation with you or direct access to the tool, or ultimately what those workflow decisions are. And with that, I'm actually at the end. I think I've done okay on time, and we have some Q&A, and I would be delighted to take any of your questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Connor. This is a great presentation and a lot of information to think about. Are there any comments or questions from committee members? Joy?
Great, thank you. Hi, Yvette. It's so good to see you. Welcome, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. You've made a couple of comments about the Department of Justice. And I guess I wonder, with the change in administration, are there any comments that you have about anything more or any changes that you anticipate coming out of the DOJ with the change, things that we should be thinking about as we kind of move through 2021 and getting to the next level?
The simple answer to that is absolutely yes. And I think there are a couple of areas where there are opportunities for improved interpretation of where we're going as well. There are some new rules actually that you're subject to that have come out of the Department of Labor as well. And the Department of Justice is involved in looking at some of those rules. There have been some instances where those rules have been abandoned, and there have been discussions about should that remain the case or should it be added back. And so I think that this has been, if you will, one of the more challenging aspects, I think, of all compliance shops right now, Joy, is we know there's going to be some change. Some things are going to be unwound. Some things are going to be wound up. And the DOL one that I'm thinking of in particular pertains to duties of fiduciary care and things like that CalSTRS is also subject to. So putting that all together, and then the DOJ saying, hey, are you really being thoughtful about how you are complying with all of this, right? Because that's where this starts to bridge. And I want to just draw this comparison if I can, is DOJ enforces the rules. So that's one thing that can change is the actual enforcement, right? How about everything underneath it, right? The actual rules themselves and that volatility that we're seeing as we wind up or unwind. And so I guess that's a two-part answer to your question. Yes, we expect DOJ to have more clarification in some areas where that clarification has become obscure. We also expect there to be a lot more clarification in some of the rules that actually apply to you, specifically some of the ones that I actually just named. So that's where we're looking to have improved performance around understanding those well in advance of them going live and monitoring them, and then also collaborating in CalSTRS about what to do with them from a policy and procedure standpoint.
Great, thank you. Lynn, I have one more question. May I ask one more?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, great, thank you. Yvette, I don't know if you're aware, but we are also in the middle of a leadership transition. Our CEO is stepping down over the summer, and we're in the middle of a search for a new CEO. And so much at any organization, I think so much of the importance of compliance is the culture. It's the culture of compliance, it's tone at the top. And while our organization's formal compliance program is relatively young, we have, I think, for years had such a strong core set of values around, being ethical and being compliant generally. Is there any advice that you have for us as a board as we're going through this transition? How we think about continuing to maintain and keep that really strong, tone and culture of compliance and ethics?
Absolutely. I think the first thing I would say, Joy, is communication. The board's visibility and the transparency, the ease at which your constituents, members, and employees understand your intentions and your goals and your objectives. I cannot emphasize that enough. over communicating during periods of change and change management is very rarely a poor strategy. It is more often than not a resilient strategy. And while it might take a little bit more to do it during the change management exercise, what we often see is that you're very well rewarded for doing it, and that you will build the trust of your constituency, as well as avoid some pitfalls of fear and doubt that can start to happen during periods of change.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
If I could just make a reference here for the committee, with regards to your question on the Department of Justice guidance there, while Cheryl didn't drill down on it in the agenda item because we knew we were going to have this discussion, in our item 06 of today's agenda, on page 2, some of the Department of Justice updated guidance is listed there for the committee to review, and you'll see what those areas of emphasis were when their guidance was updated as of June 2020. And we continue to always monitor, that regulations that if they're going to add anything new or update it, then we try to incorporate that into the program and make sure that we're aligned with it. But this has a good paragraph here, just some brief update on what those changes were that occurred.
Thank you, Larry. I see Karen has her hand up. Karen?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. Lots and lots of information. And I just wanted to kind of follow up on Joy's question about your advice, and then you say communication. Mm-hmm. Since our search is for a new CEO, and for the communication to our members and stakeholders, who should be the appropriate person to lead in that communication if it's our CEO that's going to be replaced?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think you have a couple of avenues available to you to deploy. The first is for your employee population, I would very much suggest engaging your HR department. And they would be a great point team, if you will, leadership team, to help you with the internal aspects of the communication. I also think that on the external, you have two options available to you, apart and aside from a formal communication plan through a formal communication department. And that would be to let your members know through the channels that you already have with your members on standard communications. So that might be an email. That might be, actually, I've seen this done, a formal written notice, a letter to your members. And then also reinforcing it with your own executives as well. And so I think that leveraging some of your, and you have a few options here, I guess, your investor relations team, also with your members and in your investors, would be some of the hot spots I think I would focus on, given my knowledge of CalSTRS.
Great. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good information.
Thank you. I had a question regarding the tool to track the regulations. And I know that Cheryl mentioned this a little bit too in her item as well, that it's now available to be used throughout the organization. And I think one of the hallmarks of last year's work that the compliance team did was to kind of plug in more in a holistic way throughout the organization. So I'm curious, with more people having access to that too, is the ultimate goal to have different units coming to the compliance and saying, I saw this notice in this regulation coming up, and I think that this is an important one, and here's how it would impact risk. Are we looking for that kind of back and forth?
It's definitely one of the use cases that we developed for you. We wanted it to have many, many use cases. And we thought about your branches, actually. And we thought, you have folks in the branch who are managing all of these different parts of your operations. And they may not be tasked with the compliance title, but maybe they're interested in something where they just want to monitor it as part of a different but related job description. So how could they do that? Really easy. And just go on and say, where are we at? Like we were saying earlier with OSHA, CalOSHA, like, where are we at with this? And so, yes, that was absolutely what we thought about, is how do you get a user interface that makes it really easy and maybe a little intriguing even for folks to go take a look and then try to apply that. We also thought about how do we not overwhelm them, right? The flip side of that. Some folks have jobs where there's a lot of regulation or compliance tied to their role. So how do we help them think about filtering it and targeting it for just what they do in that role? So I share that because there's two dimensions of flexibility that you can set up contingent upon the, if you will, ongoing rollout and testing of it.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. Sure. And then, Frank, I thought I saw your hand go up. Do you have a question?
Yeah, more a comment. Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Yvette, for a very, very informative presentation in this not so new field of compliance, but sort of new in the sense that we're discovering. During your presentation, there were a couple times where you alluded or you discussed the autonomy of the compliance division. And I'm just curious if there is a trend, like some other departments in state government I'm referring to. For example, they have singled out their compliance division and make it totally autonomous, and in some cases reporting at the highest level in the chain of command, so to speak, in order to give that and preserve the integrity of the process and so on and so forth. Is there a trend that goes or directs us in that direction, so to speak? I mean, should compliance be an identity of itself rather, and who that reporting structure should look like? I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
Sure. So we have seen movement in this space, especially in the past 3 to 4 years. And there's been some interpretation of where compliance should report and some recommendations that perhaps it should not report into legal. So we have had clarity on that. What we are still working through is, should it go to a committee of the board, as an example, or should it have direct line to the CEO? And there are different organizations still working through that. I can't give you an absolute answer, but I will tell you that the independence has become a very hot topic. And certainly we have seen both compliance and risk, sometimes both of them together, I will say, reporting up directly to the board. And if there are two that move together, I will tell you it's those two, that it would be risk and compliance. And often similar to this, there's a risk and compliance series of committees and groups and governance structure. And that's where the bifurcation will happen. So yes, we are seeing movement in that direction.
Yeah, like, not that this is relevant, but for instance, here in California, with the Department of Correction, we experienced years ago where it got so much on the extreme where the courts actually intervened and compliance became part of, supervised by the court system, that alone, by the CEO of or the secretary of a particular department. I'm just making that example because I've seen where you can go to that extreme if it is not addressed properly and is not given its proper autonomy to operate. So your thoughts are, I think you're right on the money in terms of, committee or at least it's an area that it's being evaluated. But again,
sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. I was just going to say, again, I enjoy your PowerPoint very much because it opened up, a whole, areas that you don't think typically, and it just broadened, you sort of don't realize how important and critical the function is to maintain the healthy of an organization, to maintain the culture of an organization, to keep in the right track, so to speak. So
you're exactly right. You're exactly right. And let me leave you with this thought, if I might. In answer to your question, as you move into the future, the best evidence that you will have will be your data. If your compliance events are going up, right? That's an interesting insight. If your compliance events maybe seem stagnant, that's an interesting insight. It's great if we see reports through the compliance line go down. But I will tell you, in compliance, sometimes when we see that happen, we say, that's interesting. Is there a reason why we're on a negative trend? Is it because we really have made a cultural process improvement here and this is the net result of it? Or is there a concern perhaps that's representative here? And that's where your compliance team and the board together can begin to analyze a little bit different than you've been able to do in the past, some of these trends, and try to determine what might be motivating them. But I do think your data and your feedback that you now have in place to receive will help guide you decisioning about if you ever reach the point where you should have a bifurcated or separate reporting role. So something else is to keep in mind.
Thank you, Yvette, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Good comments. Any other questions or comments? Dr. Yetman?
Thanks for that. Just one real quick question that it could be a huge can of worms, and of course we don't have time to do that. But as we move forward in compliance, one of the issues the board, in particular this committee, faces is, and this is always an issue with boards and committees, how does a board know that it's doing it's meeting its oversight obligations with respect to something like compliance, and in particular how you balance the oversight role of a board with trust in the staff that you have conducting those operations, right? The board is supposed to be an independent eye towards these, but yet the board is itself not an expert in compliance and has to rely on the talent and objectivity of its staff. And so how do you see that balanced? And I understand it could be a whole long question and maybe something you and I can discuss later offline, but
yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, this is a terrific governance question. So first of all, let me start by thanking you for asking it. I think there are some board members who perhaps wouldn't, generally speaking. So I appreciate your inquiry. You know, fundamentally, you have a duty of care, and that duty of care is what you're certainly referencing, in part or in whole. And I'm not an attorney, so I won't offer a legal opinion, but maybe a perspective in terms of when I've seen compliance go wrong, or risk management go wrong for that matter. I think that the board has an opportunity to challenge at all times, and frankly should. And part of executing a challenge is not necessarily to be disruptive as much as it is to have strong inquiries. So strong inquiries involve trying to understand what is actually happening in the business through a trended and ideally analytical / insightful lens. So for example, when we look at compliance risks over the past 36 months, are they going up and down? This goes to the heart of my prior question as well. Are they going up or, excuse me, I think I'm gonna sneeze. I'm gonna try to avoid it on camera. Are those risks going, is the compliance trend going up or down? Have we considered change in the business and normalize that trend to really understand why it's behaving the way it's behaving? Do we have enough data? Do we have quality data? How are we looking in terms of some of the assumptions that we're applying? I frequently see boards ask those questions. They will often sometimes also ask about adverse events, and can they see a report or a root cause analysis or an assessment of something that went wrong? And can they learn from it in an active educational session, such as what we just carried on here? It would not be uncommon for your general counsel and perhaps whoever else would be involved in anything to sort of walk you through that as a learning session for a board. So those are some ideas, if you will, that I've seen boards do to bring that challenger role and to really light up the duty of care as they think about, are we asking the right questions? Are we pushing hard enough in some of the areas where we're not experts, but we need you to really show us a little bit more about how this is actually getting to where it's at and some of the components of it without it being a super technical discussion. And maybe I'll add one more thing, Dr. Yetman, of where this has been especially important during COVID. Information security and third party, you've heard me reference that a few times. Those are very technical areas of your business. There's a lot of technical areas of your business. The investment business is technical, but I'm going to focus on technology. Very technical. It's hard for boards sometimes to appreciate what a chief information security officer needs to tell you. So the other piece of advice I might offer you is this. If you need a translator to help better understand some of those technical issues, to bridge the gap between a technical leader and a strategic conversation, we've seen boards go get those translators so that you can get what you need in a way that you need it to understand the question that you're asking me. Because you may not really want to discuss detailed SIM systems with your CISO. You have a lot of risk data there, right? So how do you get from that detailed tech conversation to a governance conversation?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Well, again, Ms. Connor, thank you again for a wonderful presentation. A lot to think about, and I really do appreciate you spending your time with us here on this Friday afternoon. Oh, I'm sorry, Frank. One more question? No? Okay.
Thank you for the invitation. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. So now we are moving to item number 9, review of information requests. And I had written down the request from Karen to have a listing or information on educational opportunities. I don't know if there were anything else, Brendan?
No, that was the only one. I didn't know if that was an information request or not. So I have that as well. So I can write it down as an information request. It's fine.
That would be great. Thank you. I appreciate that. And item 10 is the draft agenda for the next meeting in July. Were there any comments, questions, or anything on the agenda? No? Okay. And then item 11 is public comment. Samantha, is there anybody in the queue for public comment?
There are no callers in the queue for public comment.
Great. I think with that, we are ready to adjourn. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, Larry.
Yeah, just real quick here. Earlier, I talked about our quality assurance review, and I know we've all been really busy with board meetings and this last week. But earlier in the week, there was a survey that was actually sent to all of the ARM committee members and to our executive team as well. And if you have a chance to fill that out and provide input to the reviewers, that would be great. I just wanted to quick reminder for everybody that it's out there, and appreciate the responses.
Thank you. That's a great reminder. Thank you very much. Karen?
Oh, I'm glad. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm glad you brought that up because I more or less ignored it because I wasn't sure if it was really supposed to be directed to me. So thank you for reminding me, and I will do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that brings us to, oh, I'm sorry, Frank.
Sorry, Madam Chair, just a quick question about that survey. Just to be clear, Larry, is that survey per office? Like for us, designee, you want one per each office, or you want one per, or each one of us should be filling one out? I wasn't clear about.
Yeah, thank you. It'd be great if each one of you could fill one out based on your experience.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And your thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, thank you again, everyone, for a great committee meeting on a Friday afternoon. Hope you all have a nice weekend and look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.
Thanks, Lynn. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.